Hello, hello, nerds. Welcome back to another episode of
Video Nerds.
I'm the Man Nerd, and I'm here with
Steven Shred, that's me.
That is you. Always you. Today, we are doing some more anime because all this anime that we've been watching is coming to a close, man. Like these seasons are done, and now we got to talk about them.
Yep, it seems like a shift in these last few years because you look at a lot of anime from like earlier 2000s up until maybe 2015s, 16s. You have a lot of these shows going on 24 episode seasons or even longer seasons where they cover an entire arc in 40 episodes. A lot of these shows are going for a lot shorter things, and they're going for the seasonal runs. So expect a lot of anime on the show.
Yeah, and it's kind of like they're following suit with just general shows, because it used to be 20 something plus episodes per season. They had to break it into 2 parts or 3 parts, but now it's 8 episodes for one season or 10 max, and it's that just seems short to me.
Yeah, it definitely does, but I think they're just following suit with the way things are done now. And then I also think that it has something to do with the animation studios being just ridiculously overworked, and they got to go for the shorter seasons because they're probably all right, well, we got 5 shows that we need to do animation for, so the most we could do is this in this amount of time.
Yeah, you're right on that one. Now, this anime is called Oshi no Ko. Where did you first hear about it? Because I heard about it from you.
I first heard about it around the time that it was going to come out. I remembered seeing a trailer and a quick little synopsis on what the show was about, but I didn't actually check it out until it was already 4 episodes in. And that was just because I had been teetering on the idea of checking out High Dive, and then you ended up getting it. So I was like, okay, well, now I got no excuse.
Yep, now we got to do it.
Yeah, that is the only thing with this show, that it is exclusive to High Dive, which I know a lot of anime watchers, such as myself, stick to just, Hulu and Crunchyroll. So we'll preface that if you want to check this out, it's only on High Dive, for now at least. But pretty solid.
Yeah, pretty solid. This actually wouldn't be a show that I would just jump into, but with your recommendation, jumped in that first episode, and wow. Yeah, it was completely different than it looked like it was going to be. I had no idea what was happening. I didn't see a trailer, and then I was like, oh, this is going to be a cutesy, weird thing about idols and the fans, and okay. And it kind of is that, but it's also more deep than that.
Yep.
Why don't you give a no spoilers movie review on this season?
So pretty much we follow initially the doctor, Mr. I don't know how to say his name. I think it's Gorau or Goru, something like that.
Goru, I think, yeah.
Yeah, who's he's I believe he's a gynecologist, they say, but he also is just, chilling in his hospital, doing his thing. He is a big fan of idols, which his favorite one being I from, I also don't know how to say the group.
Bikomachi.
Bikomachi, there you go. So she is the lead idol, the front woman of it, and that is his favorite idol, which comes from Serena, one of the patients at the hospital who he was becoming friends with, and she ended up passing away. So in her memory, he kind of became a huge idol fan. So I ends up coming to the hospital because she has a secret pregnancy, and he gets to have his one-on-one time. So he gets to see kind of both sides of it. The idol that he was a huge fan of, and then all of the other dealings in talking to her. So it shows us both sides, and that's really what the show is about. The glamorous side that we get to see on one side of the screen, and the other side that we don't get to hear about, especially in the idol world, because idols are seen as these like perfect people, which the show talks about a lot. They're supposed to be perfect people, no drama, no nothing surrounding them. They have to be these like pristine, put on a pedestal people. So that's the general idea of the show without getting into the spoilers. A little bit of supernatural twist to the show, but we'll get into that after the warning hits.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. That's what threw me off on this show. You're getting into it, you're seeing like the fan side right off the bat, and then you get a little bit of the real side of Ai when she's hiding out, pregnant, going to give birth to twins, and you get to kind of see that her philosophy that she gained from her manager about how lying about who she is actually loving people, which is weird, but she makes it sound great, so I'm all into it at that point.
Yeah, it's the idea that she's giving her best self because she pretends that she is what these people see.
All right, so let's get into let's do the rating. Let's do the rating first. So this season, for me, it started out with a bang, man. Mm-hmm. Holy crap, that first episode was like a freaking movie. So much happened. And then it kind of slowed down, but it also gave you, like you were talking about, you get to see both sides. You get to see the glamorous side from a fan's perspective, but you also get to see the nitty gritty. But it's not just in the idol world. You get to see it in acting, in reality TV. There's all these little things they're throwing in there that keep me going. Very interesting. The characters are pretty good, pretty deep. I start to feel for most characters in this series. And, oh man, just the flow of it was pretty good, except the main overarching theme, the main story, which we'll get into later. That was kind of lacking after the first episode.
Yeah.
Definitely slowed down there. But for me, I'm going to give this bad boy a D12.
I think I'm going to be giving it the same. I do feel like I'm going to go back to it, but at the same time, it was lacking on the overarching story, like you said, and I feel like I'm not going to rewatch this until season 2 starts getting closer.
Yeah, and then once we add season 2 into this, I think I'm just going to think of it not as seasons, just as one main story once they start getting into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it might change my view on the series.
Definitely.
You know what time it is. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
All right, so you get into this story. First episode, this super fan who's a doctor who gets to take care of his favorite idol and be there for the birth of her children. And there's this awkwardness because he's an older man and she's actually 16, and that's why she's hiding her pregnancy. So there's that going on the entire series. But there is a little bit of a foreshadowing, I guess. People talk about, oh, what would it be like if you were born a idol's kid? Or, ooh, I would love to be reincarnated as an idol's kid. And that is what happens. The doctor, right before she's given birth, he finds kind of a stalker, and the stalker pushes him off of a cliff, and he ends up being reincarnated as one of Ai's kids. Why don't you talk about the second part of that twist?
Yeah, so the doctor that we mentioned before, he is, he's murdered. He becomes Ai's son, Aqua. Now, he has this inner monologue as he goes through it, because he has the mindset of an adult still, so everything carried over. But then he notices that his sister Ruby is also a reincarnated adult or reincarnated person. It turns out that Ruby is actually the reincarnated Serena, the patient that initially got him into idols. So she had spoken about the idea of what would it be like to be an idol's kid? What would it be like to be a famous person's kid? Be born and into like a family like that. So they don't know their true identities. So Aqua and Ruby only know each other as Aqua and Ruby. And as we continue through, so Ichigo, he is Ai's manager. He's the one that runs Strawberry Productions, which is the company that she's under. And he's the one that's kind of organizing this whole like secret pregnancy thing. And his wife, Miyako, I believe, is how you say her name?
Yeah, Miyako.
So she figures out, if I leak this to the press, because she takes a picture of Ai with Aqua and Ruby, that she can make a lot of money. So Aqua and Ruby take this into account. So they decide that they're going to stand up and start talking to her and claim that they are deities speaking through the babies. And that
because they are babies that can speak normally, which is so weird.
Yep. Which is how Aqua finds out that Ruby's also reincarnated, because he overhears her talking. So they tell her that she has been chosen to watch over these babies and to watch over Ai and protect them. So she becomes very invested in taking care of them.
Basically, this takes place like halfway through. You get the reincarnation of this first episode, which is basically a movie. And then after that, it is all about the kids growing up as super tiny and Ai getting back into her idol life and expanding on that. She actually starts to get different gigs. She's on radio shows. She's doing modeling. She is getting into acting. And this is where we kind of join together the idol scene with the whole entertainment scene. And they get into acting. And that is where Aqua finds this director that kind of gives Ai a shot on this teen drama. And the director sees something in him, sees a little kid, but with the mind of an adult, basically, and how he carries himself. And everybody makes little comments about that. And he just sees potential in him. So in order to get him to act, he says, you know what? I'll give Ai some jobs if you act in this movie too. So he kind of gets in there, and he's really good only because he can anticipate what everybody needs from him because of his adult mind. And just the way he is as a kid is not the way a usual kid is. It's more adult, more sophisticated. So they thought he was a genius, but he's just a grown-ass man stuck in a little kid's body.
Yep.
Now, from here, you get to see the evolution of Ai having a family like she always wanted, but also keeping her career, which is very looked down upon in that industry because they want them to be perfect, but they also want them to lie. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. And you get a little bit of hints here and there about the father. You never know who it is, but right towards the end of the episode, she's trying to get the father to meet the kids and tells him where the apartment is. And that is when tragedy strikes.
She gets a knock at the door. It kind of gives you the impression that we're going to be meeting the father. She opens the door and she gets stabbed. And it shows the stalker, the same one who pushed the doctor off the cliff, has now found where she lives. He stabs her, then runs away, and she dies with Aqua there and Ruby in the other room. So from that moment, Aqua puts two and two together and figures out that she had only just told the father where she lived. And then just so happens the stalker shows up and kills her. So the show takes a turn and sets up the overarching plot that Aqua wants to get revenge on the father because he's the only one that could have leaked the information to the stalker on where she lived. But then we also have these other ideas of maybe it's just someone in the entertainment industry as a whole. So Aqua wants to get into the entertainment industry so that he could find the killer and get his revenge. very, very dark ending to what felt like a pretty wholesome, cutesy kind of moment of the show, because we already got a little murder, and we got a tragic passing of someone very young, but then it just goes full dark.
Yeah, it does, full dark. And from there, that's when you get the rest of the season.
Yep.
They are teenagers and they're going to school, and Aqua's trying to get deeper into this mystery, trying to find out what really happened, why it happened, all this, get more information about his mom. They don't tell anybody that I was their mom. I wonder, what is the mindset of that? Is it to protect that company? It's probably to protect the Strawberry
Productions. I would think it's just
because
it was still never revealed that she had children, and she always went by I, so it's kind of funny because they go by her last name, Hoshino, and it's like nobody knows.
Yeah.
But and then there was also like a big pivotal moment in the first episode, quote unquote, because it's more of a movie. It's like an hour and a half long. I talked about how she never has told the babies that she loves them because she doesn't know what that truly feels like because of always wearing the mask and always lying. And while she's dying, she finally tells the kids that she loves them. Very, very sad. But yeah. So Aqua's whole idea is he's going to use certain people to get further into the entertainment industry, and he's going to start figuring out where the threads are that he needs to pull on to get the answers that he needs. And Ruby wants to take after her mother and become an idol. So they both want to pay homage to Ai's memory in their own ways. And we also get to when they're teenagers, he even talks about it, to where his mind is now meeting where his body is. So it stops being like weird because now the inner monologue sounds exactly the same as they do for both of them. So it evens out. We get Aqua reconnecting with somebody from the movie that he did as a kid, which is Kana Arima. She was a child actress who, as she got older, stopped getting roles. So it shows a lot of a lot of the darker, more thrown aside side of child acting, which we've seen quite a few times, but it definitely plays into the overarching idea of the entertainment industry just uses you for what they need, and anything else just doesn't matter. You as a person don't matter as much as the thing that they need you for. So we see that in a few different places. And overall, though, from the first episode and from a few moments, because Aqua continuously takes jobs, because first it's he needs to get in with this director, because the director from the movie he did as a kid, the same one that I was with, he's like, maybe this is our father, maybe he knows something. So he takes a DNA test, no go, and starts working for him, because he then starts questioning him. He says, I'm a big fan of I. You worked with her. Would you be able to tell me something about her? And he's like, sure, if you take jobs for me. So that becomes the thing. Aqua starts taking jobs, even though he doesn't really want to do this stuff. He takes a job in a show, which he's a murderer in, and which is where he reconnects with Kana. Then he goes on the dating show, which the dating show is where we get most of this season and most of the characters that we're going to be dealing with. And that gets very, very dark.
Yeah, that gets dark with Kane.
Akana.
Who is a... What was
Akana.
That? Akana. Oh, not a Kane. Why was I saying a Kane? Anyway, Akana.
Because we read in English.
So we get Akana, who is a very talented actress, stage performer, but on reality TV, she's just awkward. She doesn't know what to do. She's trying to, keep the job for her for her agency, and things just aren't happening. She's afraid she's going to get kicked out. And the whole premise is for two teens to fall in love and become a couple. So she tries to do something to get attention and ends up causing a big scene. She scratches one of her co-stars' face, and she's a model, and it turns into this big thing. She gets hate from all the fans and just gets trolled constantly, and that starts to affect her greatly. And that turns into depression, almost suicide, which, man, when Aqua showed up and saved her from jumping off that bridge, I was so happy. I was getting all weird about it, and I was like, oh my God, thank God. Thank you. How relieved were you when that happened?
I mean, pretty relieved. It
yeah.
It hit me in my feels a lot, especially with some of the things that we were dealing with at the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It definitely went the way that I preferred. I was like, oh no, is this going to turn into like, now the show is going to shift into a way where now we're going to be going over this kind of stuff, which I liked this way a lot more, because then it started to get into lighter notes. From there, so her big problem was that she was playing herself. She was not using she wasn't playing a character in the reality show, so she took it very personal when people didn't like her. So they give her advice to kind of play up a character. So the character she decides to play up would be the perfect match for Aqua, which they deduce would be I, which is kind of weird, not gonna lie, because it's like, sure,
yeah,
him as the doctor was like crushing on I, but as her son, weird.
She's also his mom. Yeah, but very, very weird.
But at the same time, I was also kind of thinking of it like maybe it's not supposed to be taken that way. Maybe it's like a thing of like he's seeing his mom again. I don't know. Anyways, so Akana, being the extremely talented actress that she is able to completely emulate I, to the point where I has a very signature look. She has like stars in her eyes, which Aqua and Ruby both have stars in one eye, and they show Akana with stars in her eyes, which is the perfect representation of I. So she ends up winning over Aqua for the show. She wins the fans back. They go on this little project where the show is produced in a way as it is in real life. They're produced in a way to hype up drama and hype up moments and make them seem worse than they are. So the kids on the show put together the actual cut of what happened, which it had Akana scratching Yuki's face, which Yuki is a model, so it's supposed to be a very big deal. What they don't show is after them hugging and being apologetic to each other on how everything was going.
And Yuki being totally okay with it.
Yeah, she's like, it's fine. We just edited it out in the modeling shoot. It's not a big deal. Like, it's fine. So it was a big turnaround moment. So it's like, I don't know, it got me in my feels. Because like I said, both me and Mandrew were dealing with some stuff at the time. So to see the good end of that felt like something I needed to see.
And I'm even tearing up right now thinking about it. Damn.
So
yeah, it's a good moment.
Yeah, so from there, the show is a hit. Aqua is a big highlight of the show. So then the director starts giving him his the information he needs. Turns out he doesn't have the information that he's really looking for, but he does tell him the director of the stage play that it just so happens that Akana comes from is where I got a lot of the information that she needed to really become the idol that she became. She worked for the stage play, she honed it in, and the director believes that's where she fell in love. So we get a hint at maybe somebody that worked there or somebody in the higher ups is where the father is. So it just so happens that a manga is being turned into a stage play. And the director of the manga stage play meets with the director of the show that Aqua was on. They get to talking. He says, I need stars. Aqua's name comes up, so it becomes the perfect setup. So that, I believe, is going to be a big part of it for next season. Aqua trying to get his answers out and seeing how that unfolds. There's some other things that we didn't really touch upon, like one of the dating show contestants, Memcho, is like a YouTuber.
Yeah, Memcho.
She wants to become an idol. Ruby is restarting Ai's idol group, B Kamachi, because Strawberry Productions still owns the rights to the name. So Ruby, together with Kana, the childhood actress who is now trying to revamp her career, them two are starting it. Memcho always had the dream to become an idol, but became a YouTuber instead. She joins it. So now B Kamachi is a thing again. Aqua is secretly kind of dealing in the background, it seems, making things happen and kind of pointing people in the direction they need to be in. So I kind of get the feeling that Aqua's got a little bit of a dark side of pointing things. He also seems very manipulative to Akane, who, like I said before, is making herself Aqua's dream woman for the show. She takes it a little more personal. Like, she feels that they have a real connection and wants to follow up. Aqua definitely doesn't feel that. And then Kana has a crush on Aqua, so she becomes bitter towards it because of what happens on the show. But he says that he can use Akane, so I feel like we're going to get some real darkness out of him.
Yeah, and Aqua's using Kana too. He's totally manipulating her as well.
Yeah, so there's a whole lot of manipulation going on. I'm getting a little bit of a light Yagami vibe out of him, which I don't think you watched Death Note yet.
No, not all of it.
Yeah, I mean, the gist of it without spoilers, Light Yagami, very smart, knows what he wants, knows that what he's doing is for the greater good, but is willing to do some very dark and heinous things to get it. So he becomes the thing that he didn't want, but completely through, this is for the greater good. I need to do this. So
yeah.
I'm kind of getting those vibes from Aqua.
Yep. Yeah, I can't wait till the next season. This one was pretty short, but I enjoyed it. It did slow down quite a bit, but it kept me going with all the characters, character development. The overarching story wasn't really there, but just seeing everything else, every little story here, like the reality show, and then Aqua just being part of everybody else's life, I liked it. And the idol group starting to grow, and then in the last episode have their first concert, and Ruby has that stage presence like I did, so you kind of get a little bit of that there too.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that will kind of start bringing the father out as well. The idea that Ai's idol group is back at it, and I'm sure he's aware of who the kids are.
Yeah, and that makes me wonder. There was, in the last episode, there was that guy that was with a couple gentlemen, and he had the do-rag on his head. And they're like, oh, we'll go check them out. And he talked about seeing Bikamachi before. And then he was just totally enamored by Ruby. But going back to the first episode, he was in the audience when Ruby and Aqua were little in the strollers watching their mom, and they were doing the dance with the glow sticks.
The one that Aqua recreates at their performance.
Yep.
Yeah. So you thinking he plays a bigger part, or you think he is just playing the idea of the constant fan of the idols?
I think he might be the dad.
Interesting.
Because the two guys called him boss. So obviously he's the boss of something. But I'm thinking he's like a boss in that acting group, in that theater company.
Could be. Interesting. I didn't even think about that. I thought he was like trying to play the perspective of like just the idol fan, which I feel like we don't really get as much right now. Like, we got the idol fan perspective in the first episode, and then after that, it's almost all show business people.
Yeah, and even Ruby and Aqua kind of, they're still very big fans, but they were only fans to I.
Yeah, like they don't act fangirly at all for anything, really. It is very much like, well, Ruby kind of does, but Aqua is very much all business now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of stick in the mud.
So let's now that we've covered anything, let's move on to who was your favorite character?
Favorite character. You know, I've gone over this in my head so many times, and it's Memcho. I think she's very genuine, even though she's a YouTuber and very weird. I like her. I like her a lot.
I think my favorite is, I think it's Ruby. Just seems very excitable about everything, and she's like doing something because she wants to and because she loves it, knowing especially that the past her was a huge idol fan who was a cancer patient. She always had the dream to be an idol, but she couldn't, and now she gets to live that.
And she takes full advantage.
Yeah, and she's just super excited about it, doing all this stuff. And every interaction she has seems like it's like a little on the goofy side, but she's also like getting stuff done. So I really liked that. Aqua was just, yeah, super manipulative. Every time he did something nice, I was just like, okay, what did he do that for, though?
Yeah. You're like, oh, you know, he's a good guy, but why did he really do that?
Yeah. And then everybody else is just kind of like, you know, Kana has the, I don't know how to pronounce it, Tsundere or something like that, which I just recently found out what that is. Apparently it's a really mean female character who, as things progress, she gets nice. She's just a classic character of like the mean girl who develops feelings and then like gets nicer as things go on and then becomes more genuine, and then you find out why they're mean. Like and then Akina, I feel like there's like a little weirdness, like she might become a stalker or something at some point, just because it seems like her personality is somewhat getting warped with these ideas of playing characters in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, and completely abandoning who she really is.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like every character is going to have their weirdness. Maybe Ruby might develop that too, but she seems like a very like genuine character who's just like doing what she wants to do finally, and she's excited about it.
Yeah. I think she's going to be more airheaded like I was.
Definitely possible.
All right. Well, that was a good series. I fully recommend it. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, definitely. If you're willing to cope through the dark moments to get to the good stuff, definitely recommend it. This isn't like, there's some really rough anime out there. You know, there's stuff like Goblin Slayer and Berserk where it's rough and it gets rougher. This has its rough moments, but overall, pretty feel-good show, and it really gets you thinking on what's really happening, and I really like that.
All right, so we're going to leave it at that and catch the next series next time, which just ended today, so that's going to be fun.
Hell yeah.
I still got to watch it. All right, well, we'll catch you later.
See you, everyone.